Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown!
Oladipo to win it.
Another one!
He got
Another one!
Oladipo!
Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and he hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard. It is Monday here at Indiana Sports Beat at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. It was pretty spectacular weather-wise. It's not no complaints there. What did you get into? What happened? Hitting up on the guys hitting us up early on the Indy Moore Honda hotline. Ross, Larry, Pete's on early for the first time. He said Forrest as well. Tim, did Kofi Corbin get drafted? I don't know. I did not see the entire draft list. Good question. Did he get drafted? I don't know. That's a good question. Have to pull the entire draft out. Looking forward to another start to the show today. Hope you guys are having a good time. Or had a good time this weekend. Yesterday was my day to do as little as possible. And I achieved it, baby. Got that down. I think there was a NASCAR race yesterday. We've got the post results of the trade, how people are, or the draft, NBA draft, how is everyone feeling about that? The Charlie Hughes happened over the weekend. A lot of Indiana prospects, a lot of prospects, period, out and about at that. A ton of action going on. And we'll get to that as well. Talk about that. Flory Badunga versus Xavier Booker. Big time matchups at Carmel and Westfield high schools. So Kanan Catchings, Micah Davis, KJ Wyndham, Jalen Harrelson, Trent Sisley, all those guys were in action. We'll look forward to talking about many of that, much of that, and plus much more. Looking forward to everybody hitting us up. Wyatt, Tim, also on the Andy Moore hotline, said, yes, Wyatt said that he thinks Bedoya outplayed him. Yes, that is word on the street that Flory Badunga outplayed Xavier Booker up there. Tim's guy, Chase Elliott, won the race at Nashville. That's why they were at Nashville. How do you call a 1 1/3 length track a super speedway? That is my question. I've never known of a super speedway to be less than 200 than to be 2 laps or 2 miles rather. Never seen a super speedway that's just over a mile. That's a little ridiculous and pretentious. That's like calling the Nashville, Indiana airport, if they had one, Nashville International Airport. But lots of action up at the Charlie Hughes, man. Jordan Hulls was up there. Michigan State was there, all checking in on Harrelson. Michael Lewis from Ball State was up there. Looking at some of the information on Harrelson, throws down a needle, they said, on a shot. Great passer. Looking forward to talking to either Keegan or Alec about that. Philip says, Kofi signed with the Jazz. Did he get drafted, though? That's a good question. A lot of guys they signed a lot of undrafted free agents after the draft are over. And Forrest points out that he did not get drafted. He did sign as Philip points out, I would assume, an undrafted free agent. The Avalanche bring home the Stanley Cup in 4-2 last night. I did see that. They won that one on the road. But Tampa Bay cannot pull off the hat trick with 3 in a row. They were the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions. And, man, that was a high-scoring. I don't follow hockey a ton, but, man, that was a high-scoring affair. Wyatt says Kokomo Cathedral was the game of the weekend, but Dunga had 9 dunks that game, willing to throw it down whenever he wants. Wow, 9 dunks against Cathedral. That's a pretty good team. That's the team that Xavier Booker plays for. And they've got a pretty good guard as well. So looking forward to talking more about that. It says Marcus Burton showed out as well. Had 35 against Cathedral. Man, was Cathedral playing any defense whatsoever? Holy cow. I was trying to get up there myself. I could not make it. Pull that back. There we go. Just wanting to see that because there was so much action going on up there. But I didn't get to make it up at all. Hope everyone else is having a great week. Had a great weekend. What did you get into? What did you do over the weekend? It's I'll be honest with you, it's that time of year where I don't really, on the weekends, I try to, unless it's something really important. You got to try to rest the mind. But things are all still happening. Like I said, there were guys drafted by the Pacers that were, every team drafts all these undrafted free agents. And you've got all the arrivals for Indiana men's basketball playing together. And the Pacers really put on a show for their draft picks, took them out to the track. They want to make them feel home. I was looking at a piece by Bob Kravitz talking about our good friend Bob from The Athletic, talking about how the Pacers desperately want their players to fall in love with Indianapolis after living through trade demands by star players Paul George, Victor Oladipo, and complaints by Miles Turner about not getting his touches. So they want these guys to want to be in Indianapolis. Of course, you got to have that. So we'll get to that when Bob joins us this week. Looking forward to that. So, baseball over the weekend, of course, not a lot of difference, but, what are my Reds doing? Joe Lincoln's with me today instead of John, by the way. You're supposed to always have the baseball ready to go, baby.
They took home a W yesterday. They beat the Giants. I think they took that series actually. So, I think they've been going in a downward direction before that. Lost a couple series in a row, but
hopefully downward direction. Their entire season's a downward direction.
Yeah, but I mean, starting off the month of June, they had won a couple series, but then after that, they had lost like 7 out of 9 or something like that. But maybe they can get some more traction.
They have slipped below the Nationals as the worst. Oh no, the Diamondbacks have now slipped below the Reds as the worst team in the National League. Then it's the Reds. Then it's the Nationals. Wow. The Diamondbacks. They have fallen from the grace. Well, that's not quite. That's a mistake. I know. Sorry about that. It's the Reds. The Reds are the worst team in the National League, followed by the Nationals, without question. Luckily, they're not the worst team in all of baseball. That belongs to the Athletics.
Jim,
and then followed by the Rose.
There was a huge brawl yesterday in the Mariners.
I heard about that.
That was massive.
Should have pulled that up, man. Should have pulled that up at highlight. Somebody got hit. I know that. Somebody hit somebody.
Jesse Winker.
What?
Jesse Winker. He was.
I thought you said Dusty Baker. I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah, no, not quite. But that was a huge thing yesterday. I saw that on my phone and I couldn't believe it because usually they're trying to keep those things under wraps these days as much as they can, but sometimes you can't control it.
Big Daddy, it was a big breakout. Get a little action over the weekend. Timo points out that IU football picked up its fourth commitment in 2023 as safety Amari Farrell from Florida. He had offers from Penn State, Florida State, Louisville, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Committed to the Hoosiers. That is a good sign for Indiana as they continue to bring in recruits, especially ones from Florida. I don't know where my info for that went to. I just had pulled up, but it disappeared. So, but yeah, I saw that commitment 2023 came in yesterday, I believe. Oh man, computer's acting goofy today. It's a Monday. Why wouldn't they? Of course. But yes, I did see that, and can't be reached right now. It's amazing. Chris says, wait till August, and the Cubbies will say, hold my beer for the race to the bottom. Well, we'll see. I don't know. It generally, teams start dumping by then anyway. So who's going to race to the bottom then? Lord knows. Izzo, Underwood, Howard, Holtman, Mike Bray, Indiana, Purdue, Kentucky, and Missouri assistants were as well as a ton of mid-majors at the Cathedral Penn game. Yeah, that was, I would say, uncertain with certainty the game to watch. As the big man. But Floyd Badunga, here's the thing. Floyd, the way the book on Floyd Badunga is, his recruitment is locked and tied up unto another coach already. So I don't know. You're not seeing a lot of schools involved in talking to Floyd Badunga, if you notice. So that's why. Jalen Harrelson was the best prospect in action on Saturday, according to thehoosier.com. The 6'5" guard was fantastic on all accounts in both games. His ability to get into the lane and make plays was tremendous for his class. He blows me away. I mean, I've seen this kid play and his body and his play, knowing his age, it makes you shake your head. He has a great burst of speed that allows him to get by his defenders at will. He is also a blur in the transition and in the open floor, which means he is speedy. He went head to head with the number 2 overall prospect in the class of 23, Xavier Booker, numerous times in the game on Saturday. A double overtime loss for Fishers, 67-66, but Harrelson had 27 points and did just about everything for Fishers defensively. Very long, athletic. So, man, what great games that happened up there as well at the Charlie Hughes. So incredible, fun games, just on top of the talent that was out there in attendance. Xavier came into that weekend with a lot of hype as the new number 2. We'll have Keegan Nickoson on at 9:10. He was up there to talk more about this. But man, oh man, this may be one of the best weekends as far as Indiana just talent. That may have been the best weekend because I think more guys were there. We'll find out more from Keegan. But I think more Indiana talent was there at this particular one than previously. Xavier Booker came into the weekend with a lot of hype. You've got Jack Benner we'll talk about, Trent Sisley, so much more. But that's in the next segment. Keegan joins us. Keegan Nickoson, he was there, and we'll talk about that. Much more today as we look forward to hearing from Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star. And getting to Jim Reamer, I'm sure he was up there as well. So we'll have plenty to talk about in regards to recruiting and who did what. Forrest asked, do the Reds have anyone undervalued to dump? Not much. Yep. Jordan Holes made his recruiting debut up this weekend at the Charlie Hughes. Plenty more to get to. Hey, Jim Coyle with you. We got lots more coming up as Keegan Nickoson joins us next here on the Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda, #1 Honda dealer in all of Bloomington. Make sure you can go to Andy Moore. Get more from your door from AndyMooreHonda.com. As well as the WOW Club. Make sure you join. Go sign up to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store and join the WOW Club. It's easy. It's totally free. Start earning WOW rewards today. WOW members earn exclusive discounts, dining dollars to spend, and more sent directly to your mobile phone. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or a cutter, you need... Oh my gosh, I was worried about that, and I forgot Reamer will be here, but
Is Keegan coming on at 8:50? You said 9:10, but is he coming on now?
oh, 9:10. All right, 9:10. That's right. You're right.
Okay.
9:10.
So is he going to be on with Dustin?
Shit. Is there a blank one? When's the next open?
We have everything else filled. The only open one we had was the one that Kyler had, which was 8:50.
Well, who's when at what time?
So Kyler was supposed to be at 8:50, and then Dustin's 9:10 and 9:30, and then Jim is 9:50 and 10:10.
He can join us either one of Dust at 9:10 or with Reamer.
Okay. Do you have a preference?
No, I do not, but I'd like to know.
Okay. Let me text him. All right, 30 seconds.
Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by K-Bello. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. It's a looks pretty nice outside. I don't think it's going to be too bad out there today. I haven't checked lately, but I think it's going to be an okay day. Today, hot. Oh, are you kidding me? 81 degrees, is that right? A high of 81? Are you kidding me? Lows down into the 50s tonight? What in the world is going on? That is spectacular. Holy cow. And tomorrow, 82, 86. Of course, it gets warmer as the week goes on, but not terrible. As long as that humidity stays down, we'll live with it, right? We'll take it. We'll play basketball outside, not just inside like they were all weekend. What did you guys do over the weekend for fun? Where did you go? What did you do? Did you get out and do anything? I know several people go to the lake. We see that mentioned quite often, whether it's Patoka and Nolan or wherever you guys are headed. I know that, but if anybody different, anyone had to any sporting events, weekend trips to Cincinnati or St. Louis or Chicago to watch baseball. I wonder what the trades are going to end up with for the Pacers, because nothing happened, and we'll talk about that on Wednesday when Bob Kravitz joins us. They were supposed to be, in the market with this draft, making stuff happen, but nothing happened. So we'll have to find out. We'll talk to Bob about that. What are you looking most forward to next, or what are you waiting to hear? It's that time where there's just not a lot going on, is why it says he saw Jim Reamer up at the Charlie Hughes. Well, good. We'll look forward to talking to him about it. 4 prospects in Indiana kids committed to football over the weekend to various places. 4 of the state's top seniors announced their commitments. One of those was Ron Colley, offensive lineman Trevor Locke, rated as a 4-star, number 5 in-state player in the class. He's headed to Iowa. 6'6", 285-pounder. He joins Brownsburg's offensive lineman Leighton Jones, rated number 7 in the class, who's also heading to Iowa. See, that's an issue when you talk about why Indiana has such problems on the offensive line. The best in state are going out of state. That's a difference in football. Football has got to start getting some in-state guys. And when I say guys, I don't mean just the fact that they're from Indiana. I mean guys, the guys. They're going to have to land some NIL type of players. These 2 type players. Offensive line, look at Iowa and how successful they are year in, year out. Because they go get the best wherever they are. And if that's 2 linemen from Indiana, it's 2 linemen from Indiana. Year before last, didn't we have 2 guys playing against each other in the national championship with Clemson and Ohio State? North Central wide receiver TJ McWilliams announced his commitment Sunday to Purdue. 2 weeks after receiving an offer from the Boilermakers. Let's see. Outside linebacker Will Helt made his commitment Saturday to Purdue as well. So none of those guys headed to the Hoosiers. But yeah, those two linemen, that's and it's not the first time that's been a conversation. Whether it's Ohio State, Michigan, man, until you can land that guy in from within state to make that change. I mean, what was Indiana's biggest problem last year? And we're talking about these guys going out of state. So exactly, summertime in Indiana, look out for snow. Well, it's not quite that bad, but Robert says we've got July and August to look forward to. May have one of those years where it's 80 degrees in November. Hey, I'll take a great summer. Pete Clausen says there was a couple of weeks ago, but our first high school athlete signed NIL deal there in Minnesota, a girls soccer player. Forrest says it hasn't happened in 50 years. I'm not sure if he's talking about Indiana football, but Tim went to Beach Bend Park to watch some drag racing Sunday. So all kinds of action happening over the weekend. But yeah, getting linemen, man, from right here at home. I truly don't think that Indiana football can be turned around until they're getting the all-star linemen within the state. Or an all-star, the all-star. You've got to get a couple of all-stars. You've got to get the kids believing in your own state. And now that might be easier now with NIL because NIL may be less apt to come into play for a kid like Trevor Locke from Iowa than it would be from Indiana. But we keep seeing NIL like the Indiana guys. But it's guys that's already on the team. They need to get guys that are not on the team. They need to help recruit players. I mean, I'm not going to hide from what this is. It's a recruiting tool. You better start landing guys, not paying guys that are already here. That's not what's helping you. You've got to land guys like Trevor Locke, who's going to Iowa, or Leighton Jones, who's going to Iowa. Or the guy that transferred to Iowa, or the guys that transferred to Purdue. Indiana's got to start football. Indiana football's got to start. And, of course, this is a new year, but they've got to make – Indiana football has to make an impact this season, or there's going to be another round of discord. Not very loudly, not as loudly, because as the rise of basketball comes, that noise and buzz will be so loud, it drowns other things out. That's why football is not good at Indiana, to be honest with you. Basketball was so good for so long, people simply didn't care in Indiana. As long as Indiana basketball was good, life was great. And if that happens again, life will be great again. They'll deal with the couple months of crappy football and then the win here and there. As long as basketball's good. Gotta want more, man. Gotta want more. Is that doable at Indiana? I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. Because Football's a juggernaut. Basketball is a little easier to manage. It's a lot easier to manage. But football, you have to have a program in place, and Indiana just keeps – it's a new system every 4 or 5 years, completely new system. Zero cultures, zero history, zero tradition. You got nothing. Every 4 or 5 years, it's something new. So I don't know. I'm not saying they can't have success. They did. They have. They've had some success, but I'm talking about as a program in this state now and if Indiana basketball comes back around, it makes it harder. The better Indiana basketball is, I think the harder it's going to be for Indiana football. I think people will care that much less about Indiana football. They cared more about it when basketball was down because they needed something. We'll see. Robert says IU football is IU football. To pretend otherwise is naive. Truth to there. But I mean, I'm not saying give up. But man, they've had a lot of. Last year was just a mark, a watermark in Indiana football that I don't know. This season's going to be very telling on how badly last year hurt Indiana football for me personally. And let me tell you, last year hurt Indiana football tremendously. There could have been other seasons that had the same record. It wasn't the record. It was the expectations. The expectations that should have been within reason. To be honest with you. And I still don't know and have not been given answers. Not that I'm someone who deserves answers from someone, but I think we all do. I still don't know for certain what the hell happened. What the hell happened last year? I mean, I know, but why? Why was it allowed to happen? So that's what gives me pause. Why was last year allowed to happen? It's just going to be a hard road to reclimb for those guys, especially when Indiana basketball is going to be ringing that bell this year. And I think they're going to be ringing that bell loudly. Robert says IU basketball has a history of being good and can be again. Oh, they are going to be again. IU football is very little to look back on. What they do have, one coach that didn't have a losing record, and that was in the 40s. Yep. There's that. But, hey, we got lots to talk about with Charlie Hughes. Keegan Nickoson will join us. We're going to be talking to Dustin Dopirak as well from Indy Star. We'll go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll get to it, find out what all went on over the weekend. You're listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Cabello Restaurant, located on the square, part of the Wow Club as well. Right in the downtown Bloomington area. Visit Cabello to experience the taste of the traditions of the Italian heritage right here in Southern Indiana, and well as part of the Wow Club. Make sure you join there as well. And Andy Moore Honda. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the golf club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or a cutter, you need... oh, my God. Too many coffee grounds in my coffee this morning. Hey, Dustin.
Hey. How you doing, Jim?
Good, buddy. How are you? Keegan is joining us as well. He was up at the Charlie Hughes. You weren't up there, were you?
I watched one game.
Who'd you watch?
I went up for I might have been in the same room you were because it was packed to the gills with
let me see. I guess it was Cathedral and Penn.
Fishers.
Oh,
yeah, I went on Saturday, yeah.
Another good one.
With Booker and Harrelson. It was just
That was a
people falling all over each other.
Management decision putting that game in that gym.
It was a horrible idea. It was the worst idea.
With a ginormous gym like 10 steps away.
Yeah, it was dumb. And there was barely anybody. I don't even know who was playing in the actual high school gym at the time, but there were people there. So
I think it was Carmel.
There were people there.
Yeah, there weren't a lot though. Yeah, I mean, it was like there was this huge, massive amount of seats in this room. Yeah, like you said, like I don't know, 100 steps away or whatever, and we're all jammed in this freshman gym.
Temperature was up 15 degrees.
Yeah, I could barely even see. Like there, like I came in the corner. I got there late because I wasn't sure if I was going to go or not, and we had Kyle there, so I wasn't writing.
Yeah,
I just thought I should check out Booker because it's been a while. And I got in there. I'm like, oh my god, like, that whole corner over there was built up. Like I was like, just watch it, looking over people.
Yeah,
I was like, what is this? And Mike Carmen from the JNC was in the same corner, so I was like, okay, well at least this gives me somebody to talk to. But other than that, it was just humanity. I was just like, man, like what are we doing here? And amazingly, it's like as soon as that game was over, like, we went and talked to Booker because I guess they hadn't in a while, so I just figured I'd slip in there. And just we came back and there was barely a soul because there wasn't any prospects in the next game. Emptied out completely. And I was like, oh my god. But yeah, that was totally unnecessary. That just made no sense.
Well, it's always fun.
Yeah.
How was the rest of your weekend?
Good. Went to the Outlaw Festival last night up at Ruoff with so we went to see Jason Isbell because that's like one of my wife and I, like, that's kind of our favorite act. But Willie Nelson was is the lead act, so we saw Willie Nelson.
And pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Jim Coyle with you, along with Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald Times. Keegan Nickoson from the Hoosier.com. Both got to attend the Charlie Hughes over the weekend, split between Carmel and Westfield. Lots going on, lots of games. This may have been, I said this earlier, this might have been the greatest concentration of just pure Indiana talent that's been in one place this season. Keegan, you were there, attest to that?
Yeah, I think it really shows the amount of talent that Indiana has that, when these newer rankings come out, there's going to be multiple guys from Indiana that are going to be within the top 30 or top 25 of all the players in the country. I mean, you look at Trent Sisley, Jalen Harrelson, and then with how he played against Xavier Booker, Flory Badunga might be up there within like the top 10 prospects. But it was just a showcase of how great Indiana basketball is and how different the atmosphere is, because you don't get, like when we were talking at the break, the Fishers and Cathedral game. If someone would have told me, hey, this is like a state semifinal game that just got moved to this gym, I would have believed you, because that's how intense it was with how both teams are playing. It was crazy.
Well, it's just awesome to be able to see that kind of play, though, over the summer especially, but anywhere without having to go anywhere, Dustin, to have it in your own backyard.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, it's amazing that it's a high school tournament as opposed to a travel team tournament. Because obviously you're used to seeing that in Indiana, like in the obviously the schedule has gotten changed as the shoe companies have messed with their schedules. But, usually you would see that kind of talent and that kind of just cluster of coaches come out for the Adidas Invitational, like it's usually like a couple days after the 4th of July. It would be like kind of one of the first big events on the July schedule, especially when they used to put a lot more in July, and they kind of slightly de-emphasized that, not a lot, but a little. But they've also moved most of the tournaments out of Indiana, and most of Indiana's big ones now are in April and May. But to have a event where it's like guys playing with their high school teams, not playing with their travel teams where it's them and like 4 or 5 other prospects, or actually more like 10 other prospects and like, sometimes maybe 3 or 4 guys that are top 50 or top 60. Now it's, just guys literally with their high school teams, and there's, and what's wild is you have some games that are just spilling over with guys. And you have some that, there's just no prospects. There's nobody there, but there's enough people at this event that it's worth committing a weekend for an assistant or two, to get down there. Obviously, if you're Indiana, you just send them up here. But if you're somebody else, if you're Michigan State or whatever, I mean, I don't know who was all there yesterday. I mean, it was just the Booker Harrelson game was just lined, that whole sideline at the freshman gym, was just packed with coaches. And, the fact that you're going to like do that for a high school event, where like it's just one state's high school players, that's it. Really obviously says something about the state of the talent. And it's definitely like Keegan said, just getting a lot better as we're heading into, these next couple classes. Booker obviously being the headliner and he's a freak right now. I mean, I hadn't seen him in a while, and I know everybody that watched him in high school this year, could sense it. And there's a reason why he's a top 5 guy. But like, I mean, I saw him last year at the Charlie Hughes, and he's a different player. I mean, just like having those two things set aside really tell you, like, if you've been watching him all winter, you probably like, well, yeah, of course this is where he is. But like, I saw him after having not seen him in a year, and I was like, man, this is a different human. I get it now. Like it makes sense because he's that big, but still, like the stuff he does now compared to what he does last year, it's an entirely different deal.
Yeah. But the question about Badunga is I keep hearing is he is already tied to a coach, a school that his recruitment has kind of been squirreled away. Are you hearing that out on the circuit as well? Either Keegan,
you would know. I wouldn't know that.
I think I've heard something to that effect. I don't know what school it would be, which is a shame because he's going to have everybody and their mother lining up to try to get his services at their school, just with how impressive he is. Not even having played basketball that long, just so much raw talent. But I think that I've definitely heard that.
Even, I mean, like, whether it's squirreled away, like I feel like after what's starting to happen for him is like you might think he's going someplace.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see. Like, and I feel like I'm trying to think of a good example of that. And obviously no one ever comes out and says that. But, there have definitely been players who are like, well, he's going this place, he's going this place, he's going this place. And all of a sudden he gets big. Yeah. And when all of the offers are on the table, it's a different story.
Yeah, especially in the era of NIL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Like you might say, well, he's got this. It's like, well, there are other deals. There are other, like especially now, like in the old days, like who was cheating and who wasn't. But point of the matter, like now you don't have to. It's like, okay, like yeah, you say you're getting all this and all that. Well, let me tell you what we can do for you here. Like just hear me out. I don't know if he's going to be at this level or not, but like we're Duke, hear us out.
Yeah,
Kentucky, hear us out. You're going to hear him out. And when you start getting everybody on the table, you're going to hear people out, and you might change your direction.
Well, Xavier Booker is another example of that it's different, but his recruitment long thought to be kind of locked down with Michigan State, and now that seems to be not the case. It's not locked down. It seems to be loosened up to where other schools, including Indiana, have more than a fighting chance to earn his services.
Yeah, I mean, everybody seems to have a crack at it. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I hadn't talked to him since last year, and I mean, I know he's a sharp kid, but he's not like he plays it close to the vest. As far as like if you're trying to talk to him and discern, oh well, he's going here, he's going there. Like he has like the purest poker face I've seen in this. Like, I mean, when I tell you, like, even so I interviewed him with Mike Carmen and Brian Newbert. And so, like, I mean, I guess he was up at Purdue on Wednesday. And, they had sort of more to ask than I did. And I was just sort of like, they're trying to get a little out of him, but like barely, just like didn't even laugh at our jokes, like not that we're funny or whatever, but like apparently he wants to get into sports broadcasting, which like, I didn't know that until he said it. It was like kind of hilarious to see him with this just flat, expressionless poker face, and then say he wants to get into sports broadcasting. I was like, okay, X, all right, man, that's interesting. That's a choice. But I don't think that means he can't do it. I think it was because he's like, I'm not giving you guys anything that you can use. I'll tell you facts, but like I'm not setting anybody up here. It struck me as intentional, I guess, as opposed to just being a guy with not a lot of personality. I mean, like he must have more than that, and I think it's more of a sense of like, I know I got to run through this deal. I got to do this gauntlet. And I've got to talk to these media people all the time, but everything's out there for me, and I'm not pigeonholing myself. I'm not saying anything that's going to make anybody think I'm going here, or make anybody think I'm going there, or sell anybody out that I might be interested in. Like he just plays it really, really close to the vest. So I don't think you're going to get a sense of where he's really going for a while. But like, I mean, just everything is just suddenly showing up on the table. Like he's a top 5 recruit. It's a different stratosphere. When it's like when you literally can think of anybody, Gonzaga, Duke. I mean, like kind of when those two are on the board, when you're like, okay, like you can go East Coast, you can go West Coast. I mean, you got a UCLA offer too, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like just basically every power in every corner of the country wants him. So he has his pick. He gets to decide literally whatever he wants to do. Doesn't have can be in the Midwest if he wants to stay close to home. Doesn't have to go any direction he wants to go. There's not one team that wouldn't take him at this point. And you'd be stupid not to. Like, I mean, he's 7 foot with just right now absurd athletic ability, crazy wingspan. Like guys, high school kids trying to shoot at him around the rim. It's just a joke. It's just like, man, what are you even trying? Like you are running into something that's just bigger than you. Even Harrelson, who's 6'7" and looks like a stud to me, like starts driving on Booker, and you're like, nah, that ain't gonna work. You got to try something else. Like hit a fadeaway. Like you're not. Don't think you're getting near the rim. You're just not. And so he's gonna be. It's gonna be fascinating recruitment. It's cool to see this every once in a while. Indiana have a kid that is at that level. So and I hope he stays at Cathedral. Like, I mean, I'm sure, like on top of all the colleges that are recruiting him, I'm sure Lalamere has made a call. I don't know that, obviously. I don't have any clue. I don't have any insight to that, but that's what happens.
But the good thing about playing where he's playing, he's already playing against
playing huge schools. It's not
competition, getting all the exposure he could possibly get because he's in Indianapolis, the epicenter at best. So you would hope
he's getting great basketball. Don't take that to think that I don't think this is good for him.
Right.
Like it clearly is. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, trust me, but there are always people that want your services.
Oh yeah, it's just like I presume Lalamere calls every top 5 player in the state. Like I just simply presume they do, and like obviously they can put on the board. Well, you can play Montverde, and you can play like you can play IMG. Like it's not like you're looking around and thinking about Pike and whoever, like or Carmel. Like we're talking about playing IMG Academy in Montverde, like we're talking about going to Geico Nationals, like that's on the board. So, but like for the sake of Indiana, like for the sake of just first off being able to go drive and watch him, I really, really hope he doesn't do anything like that. I hope he does better.
Well, I think a lot of these kids don't
get me wrong. I am not making a pitch to that. If anybody thinks
right,
I'm not.
I think a lot of these kids though still love the fact of playing in Indiana high school schedule of heading towards the Indiana high school playoffs, of being a part of the Indiana Mr. Basketball race and chasing after being an all-star. That means a hell of a lot more than it does in Iowa, than it does in Nebraska or Florida, New Mexico, or any place else you want to name. So I think that's still a draw to most of these kids.
It is. No, it definitely is. It definitely matters. I don't want to, like I said, I like that's definitely something they think about. I hope it is something Booker thinks. I think the fact that he's still playing with Cathedral in the summer gives you a pretty good indication that he's probably going to keep playing for Cathedral. So, but again, I think, you've obviously seen Ivy, Jaden Ivey did it a couple of years ago, so like you've seen guys obviously make the leap and go someplace else and great high school players, but it is definitely a selling point that gives Indiana schools a much better chance than some others. I did a piece on this. That was actually one of my first stories at The Athletic. My man Hugh Kellenberger signed it to me about like that it's starting to creep in the state of Indiana, but it still maintains larger. Where like if he'd have been, like getting the offers that I'm sure he's getting from prep schools in most other states, he probably would have either already jumped at it. But like this allows you real deal competition. Again, just that I have no idea if Fishers is on Cathedral schedule, but like those types of games happen, in the state with schools that are 20 minutes away or whatever Cathedral is from, like right up the road. So like it is definitely a draw. There's stuff that matters in the state, especially if you're in Indy and you're around all these other powers that you're playing all the time. It is a draw. It gives more weight to the argument of sticking around than you have in some other places for sure. So I'm hoping that means that he's already decided that he wants to stick around for this and that he's going to be a part of Indiana, high school basketball, IHSAA basketball in 2022-23, because like that's good. That's good for all of us, frankly. Just from
think about Mr. Basketball race next year. We kind of thought next year's class was a little weak as compared to 24, 25, especially. But it's starting to get a little better.
It is starting to get a little more interesting.
It's starting to get a little better fast.
That's still cool. You know what I mean? Like there's something just cool about that in itself. Like wherever he goes, like, because it's cool when you can circle an Indiana Mr. Basketball 10 years down the road and he's in the NBA making $20 million a year or whatever, and being an all-star and part of the discussion, part of those discussions, like, oh, that guy came from Indiana. Like that's what, like, even if Booker runs away with this thing, even if there's no other competition for him, that's cool. Like that's just one of those, okay, like remember when Booker was there? Like one of those that you could talk about years later. Like, remember that guy? Like, he was awesome. Yeah, like Booker could be one of those guys. And it's just like, obviously, he's still figuring out how to use it all, but he's got a much better sense of it now, of how to how to just use his whole game, and just the athleticism is just wild. I mean, just how fast he is.
Well, the size. I mean, we look at the NBA now. You look at the guys that Kevin Durant's and how they're playing the style, and you're like, wow. I mean, I think back. I don't even have to go back when I was in high school. To hell, I just go back 10 years ago, and there were no guys that were 6'10" shooting from the outside. I mean, Dirk Nowitzki in the NBA, but not at the high school level. They just weren't doing that stuff.
Dirk was really the beginning of it, because it was just like, I mean, it was almost like we invested, like America, by we I mean America, basically, and invested into, just after the 92 Olympics, basically got everybody in Europe thinking about how we can do this different. We sort of sent that out there. Obviously, like they were still playing already, but like started to invest more in basketball and care more about it. Then all of a sudden, all this comes back, and there's this different European game, and it's big guys shooting threes, and it's like, wait a minute, well, we could teach guys to do that too, and all of a sudden we're doing it. And now we don't care about back to the basket guys anymore. Now Kofi freaking Coburn doesn't get drafted. It's wild.
How wild is that? That is great.
I mean, like, I still think he's going to be useful for somebody, but like it really is like. We've almost, like American basketball has almost like negated his value, where like, again, in Shaq's NBA, he's a top 10 pick. Bar none.
I was just going to ask, what is Shaq in today's NBA?
I mean, he might be so big of a force that you can't like.
He still gets, you can't stop him, but.
Yeah, like you can't stop. It's like one of those things where like, all right, like when somebody's an automatic 2, like every time you give him the ball, then you're still going to make room for him, I think. Like, and Shaq was just so much, because it wasn't just the height. Like, he had width like nobody else had. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he got somebody on his back and he was done. Like, you couldn't, like even if you double teamed, he could get it out. But like one guy on Shaq's back, it was like, well, that's like flicking a flea off. So I can't sit here, like guys that are that good, that are that dominant. Like, I can't sit here and say, well, he wouldn't even matter in today's NBA. But guys that were trying to be like him would be useless in today's NBA.
Yeah, Shaq was what I call a 2+ question mark. He's going to give you the 2 plus the possibility of the rebound of the missed free throw that he's going to get.
Exactly. That's it. Yeah.
Because he's going to miss the free throw.
He's going to miss the free throw.
He's going to miss it. And you got a shot at getting an offensive rebound there.
Yeah, you have a chance, but he can just blow through all of you and dunk on top of your heads.
We got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to see, does anybody else stand out or shine up there this weekend? Any new names? Anybody else making a name for themselves? And what else is going on? We'll see what else is going on with Dustin and Keegan as well. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our friends from Feast Market and Cellar, a part of the WOW Club. Make sure you stop by Feast Market, and where they have an incredible selection of wine, sommelier on staff, gourmet cheeses as well. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's number.
Dustin, what's your latest piece? I can't get into Bloomington paper. I only get into Indy paper.
Sorry about that. Maxine had to go outside. So I'm going outside with her just to make sure she doesn't get in trouble.
What? I'm trying. What's your latest piece?
Me? I did
Will Sheehy?
No, I had because we had Jalen Hood Shafino on Thursday, and I published something this morning.
Okay.
Because I was hoping to do
a
bigger project on him.
I see it on Twitter.
Yeah, I just put it up right before we got on here. So yeah, I'd hope to do something bigger on him. I still hope to, but I got to get his. We've had a hard time getting his mom there for various reasons. But
she doesn't like to do stuff. I can tell you that.
Yeah, well, she wasn't happy because I did cups first, and she wasn't thrilled about that.
Oh man!
And I needed to do. I didn't do a great job of communicating.
Wow.
So I'll just say that it is partially my fault that I don't have.
Isn't it funny? Oh my God! Isn't it funny the stuff that they pay attention to, man?
Yeah, but
close the door in the window.
But yeah, it wasn't. It's not entirely not my fault. So I will say that I'm gonna own that. But point being, I got a hold of his assistant, one of the assistant coach at Montverde, the one that you can get a hold of. You know, Keegan, I'm sure you've discussed with him, Ray Miller, who you can get.
I was getting ready to say, Mr. Miller.
Yes. I can't get the head coach to save my life. I've emailed him, called him the whole bit, but Ray Miller will sit there and talk with you, and he you know, like gave me kind of a breakdown. So I kind of connected the dots and said, like, just, you know, obviously he had to go there and adapt, like, and not be the primary scorer, basically, like, be willing to facilitate the other guys, you know, basically had to go there and be willing to not be the guy who's averaging 20 a game. And I kind of like connected the dots that he's going to be a situation like that as a freshman at IU where he doesn't have to come in and average 20, you know, like, that's not saying he can't do it, but like he's going to play on the ball, he's going to play off the ball. So it's like the story about adapting, basically, and how he's done it before and he can do it again, and that's going to be his importance.
What's your latest piece, Keegan?
My latest piece, it was just up. It was the Raleigh Burgess interview after his visit with Indiana. Got on the phone with him. Seems like he really likes it. Really liked how Brian Walsh put it together. So that's on the Hoosier.
20 seconds.
Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by BB's Market in Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It is a Monday, brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market. All part of the WOW Network, of course. Make sure you go to BB's. You can get lots of different things there, whether it's a beautiful thick steak, sausage, pork chops. They're your local meat shop, steakhouse, and caterer, no matter where you live. Visit bbsmarket.com, all part of the WOW network, where you can join as well at your Apple App Store or Google Play Store. With me now, Keegan Nickoson from the Hoosier.com and Dustin Dopirak from the Bloomington Herald-Times. Both attended the Charlie Hughes shootout over the weekend that took place at Carmel and Westfield. Probably the greatest assemblage of current Indiana high school talent that we'll see this season in one spot without question. And did anybody else stand up? We're used to hearing about Flory Badunga and Xavier Booker and Trent Sisley and Jalen Harrelson and those guys, but did anybody else kind of stand out that we haven't heard of that's trying to make a name for themselves?
I'll tell you what, and Alec will probably talk to you about this when he's on the show eventually this week, but Jack Benter of, I think it's Brownsville Central is what it is. I got that and Brownsburg mixed up when we were going to see him. I think he had 30-plus points and just about half his team's points and just could not miss. They took on HSC and they beat them. He hit a buzzer beater to go ahead with, I think, about 7 seconds left. But he didn't move the greatest. That's his one thing that's going to hold him back is the athletic ability. But he just screams Purdue to me. And Coach Painter was right by the drop down screen watching 2 games. And as that game was winding down, he was checking in on Benter a lot. So Purdue and Butler and I think Ball State were there watching him. He dropped 30-plus, just couldn't miss. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Dustin.
Yeah, I mean, I only saw the one game, but I know Kyle Nedenrip wrote up Marcus Burton from Penn, so up there, up South Bend way. Apparently went off. I'm not sure exactly what he did. I'm going to click on it right now. But I know he had kind of a big game too. But I did hear about Bender. I think I saw you guys tweeting about him. I think I saw Alec tweeting about him. I think. So screams Purdue cracks me up because you know what that looks like. Yeah.
Yes. I started laughing as soon as you said that.
Yeah, like you know exactly what that means. Like obviously Painter has a type. Painter has several types, obviously, but like he gets guys that shooting is obviously a big thing for him, and he's certainly and we when I was covering Purdue with the Athletic, I got him going on that, and he talks about the law, just like what he looks for. Recruiting wise, is how he's changed. I mean, basically, he stopped kind of worrying about like, oh, I got to get the highest rated player or whatever, the most athletic guy. It was just get the more skilled players, get guys that can dribble, pass, and shoot. When it comes to guards and wings, just don't worry about, oh, is he a top 10 guy? Can he jump out of the gym? Basically, sort of looks at skill as undervalued versus athleticism. Guys like that end up looking like Ethan Morton or Dakota Mathias or whatever, end up being pretty high on his, or Ryan Klein or whatever, and end up pretty high on his radar. But, it helps him win. And basically he just needs to get a big and around that. And then an athletic guard, a lead guy, obviously it worked with Carson Edwards, worked with Jaden Ivey, and obviously Ivy, he was able to get a little bit lucky, basically where for some reason he was undervalued as a high school player. He was very, very good and everybody knew about him, but nobody thought him as a top 5 pick. And he managed to get on him before some other people did, most notably Indiana. So he manages to piece those things together. So, but I can see what you mean by Bender. But I guess, yeah, Burton, I know someone on the chat here or that sends messages to us mentioned Burton. I guess he had 28 in the game or something like that.
Average 28 last year, apparently.
Jeez. Yeah. So he's got a chance to be a dude too.
This is going to sound kind of funny, but Matt Painter reminds me of Bob Knight's recruiting, the way Bob Knight recruited back when, in the 80s and the 90s. The only difference is Bob Knight was a genius, and this is not disparaging Matt Painter. Bob Knight was a basketball mental genius. He could win games within the game, where most coaches can't do that. I mean, he could just he could just see things, do things. Indiana won a lot of games that Bob Knight won during the game.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I don't think Painter's
that
a
may
bad
be
X's and O's guy, but yeah,
I don't either. And I'm trying not to. I like Matt Painter. He's a good guy, but there's obviously a huge difference in where Knight could go with that same talent and where anybody else could go with, or most anybody else could go with that same talent.
Yeah, Not many people might be the best at that there ever was. That's altogether possible. Like, you can obviously criticize everything else that Knight was, but like, if you're able to kind of boil it down to, who's the best on a whiteboard, Knight might be the best ever on a whiteboard. Like,
he just saw things. He reminds me of
if
you've watched parchment, wasn't it called parchment paper? But it reminds me of the series Winning Time, if you've seen that on HBO about the Lakers, the rise of the. Oh my God, it's great. But anyway, there's a part where Dr. Jack Ramsey, it was Jack Ramsey, wasn't it?
Yep.
First coach, he's levitating because he's feeling the numbers and everything. I see Bob Knight seeing the game that way, just levitating above and just seeing things that people can't see.
Yeah.
Or don't see or didn't see.
Yeah. No, that's for sure. He frequently saw things that other people didn't notice or other people didn't know. I mean, it's like everything you hear about his sort of strategy, his, ability to go different directions with things, and just his understanding of talent and how to maximize it was fascinating.
See, Wyatt said
Brownstown, not Brownsville.
Benner from Brownstown is the best shooter in the state. Center line is no problem in growing, about 6'6". Wyatt says Brownstown Central. So that's he said he's a shooter.
We're getting the guy's high school name right. That's good.
Yeah.
Brownsville, Brownsburg, Brownstown.
He's a shooter. He's a shooter though. He's a shooter apparently and still growing. Now, what year is he?
2024.
Okay. So can you imagine getting a kid like that in? Then you get a kid like Sisley in and Harrelson. There are some big time in-state recruits coming down the road for Indiana right now. And Indiana is doing everything that they can to put themselves in that position to be on them. You can just tell the recruiting is different right now for Indiana, Dustin.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. I mean, I think it's a case that this is very cast a wide net from what I can tell. I mean, Keegan, you can tell me if I'm wrong. But it definitely seems like they're in the position of saying, all right, like we're just trying to get everything and we're getting our name on the map right here. And we don't sort of view ourselves as having a ceiling or a floor or anything like that. We're just going to go try to get as many players as we can.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they have had to get some kind of specific strategy at this point. It's just go get out there, go get players, see who we can get. And and it's not necessarily like they don't have to recruit for need right now necessarily. I mean, like at least there doesn't seem to be an emerging need anywhere of it's like you've got to get this, but it's more like stockpiling talent because it's you go ahead.
I think down the road, and me and Alec were talking about this over the weekend, the size down low is going to be a question mark in terms of 2023 and 2024. So I don't know who you'd go after if you want to try to fly or pry Flory Badunga's coach away and try to get him to Indiana in terms of in-state. But I agree with what you're saying is, when he came here, he just said he wanted to return Indiana to glory, and he's going after all these top 20, top 25 players in every class. And he's not hesitating at all, which I have a lot of respect for.
Right. No, I mean, I think there is, because we obviously had this discussion at the beginning about, okay, what's recruiting going to be like for Mike Woodson? And I do think that the narrative shifted pretty fast when he started getting players. But I think that there is still a long-term question of that because the issue isn't can he connect with these guys. I think that area he's proven time and time again, he can talk to high school kids. That's not a problem. You know, that's of the complexity of recruiting. That's the least of his issues.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what he's the best at. He's in fact quite good at it. It's just there's obviously a deeper sort of strategy to it that we're going to have to see shape at some point, and that I don't think has to at this point. Like I don't think it's a bad thing that he's necessarily throwing a lot of darts at the wall right now. But at some point that'll probably have to change. You know, he'll probably have to adapt with that. He'll probably have to be able to figure out how to get a little bit deeper on that list and get somebody who's useful. You know, yeah. I mean, obviously it's not that he's not doing that. Obviously he's got Gabe Cups, so it's not like he's not dug for somebody who's a little bit off that sort of main list. But you know, it's having a strategy. It's saying, okay, you know, like caring about what you have geographically, you know, making sure that you're keeping the state happy enough, you know, like you don't have to do it like, you know, because we've seen it work in different ways. Obviously Crean went real heavy early and then things went sour and, you know, couldn't recruit the state anymore. Like he did care about it. And then Archie was almost like all he did, more or less. Like he wasn't around long enough to do anything else. So like he's not had a great class so far, but it's like when those, you know, future classes you talk about 24, 25 start emerging, then he's going to have to get some guys out of that just to make sure that no one thinks that he's just big timing everybody. Yeah. So there's going to be, I think it's going to be interesting to see like how a long-term strategy develops. That's what he's got to get used to, is playing those kind of long games of, you know, creating relationships, not just with players, but with coaches, you know, like AAU programs, state high school programs, getting to know all those guys, making sure that, you know, they know and trust him. You know, that long game part of it is, I think, is the interesting thing that it's going to be interesting for him to try to navigate at this age. But the thing that we know he can do is he can connect with high school kids. He doesn't have a problem connecting with anybody. He can connect with players, you know, flat out across the board. It's these long game questions, though, I think are still interesting. To see where he goes with that, and that takes a lot longer to prove one way or the other. Like you can't say right now he can't do it. You can't say right now that he can. Like it's something to watch over time. How you get used to the whole of the college recruiting game. Obviously, Keegan, you have a better sense of what he's doing and how he's doing it because you're around that a lot more. But from someone's a little bit more removed from it. It seems like it doesn't seem like there is a specific strategy yet. It is very okay. We're Indiana. We're coming off a pretty good year. Everybody seems to really like what we have going on this year. Let's just find out where we are. Let's throw darts at everybody. Let's try everybody we could conceivably get and go and then figure it out, as opposed to these are the guys that we want right now.
Yeah. Dustin's got a newest piece out, fresh off the presses this morning, in regards to Jalen Hood-Schifino. You can probably find that on the Indy Star as well as the Bloomington Herald-Times. I'm assuming it's in both places, right?
If it's not, somebody screwed up.
Right. I was going to say, because, you should be able to find it both places.
I hadn't checked it on the Star website yet. I tweeted it out on the Herald-Times because I got to make sure we keep reminding everybody we're still kicking. At the Herald-Times, even though we're part of this bigger Gannett organization, make sure everybody knows the HT is still an entity, but obviously still part of the Star team as well. And you know, I think this was edited by Star folks. But yeah, so you can find those at either place. Should be able to, unless something went wrong. But yeah, now check that out. Obviously we got Jalen on Thursday, and I want to do something bigger on him and. You know, just talk to his assistant coach and kind of talked about how his time at Montverde, I think, really sets him up for the specific kind of role, not even specific role, but basically what's going to be asked of him next year or this year at Indiana, where he's not necessarily going to be, even though he's this blue chip recruit, he doesn't have to come in and try to carry them like a Romeo Langford did, or even a Trace Jackson Davis did. You know, he's not going to be the centerpiece, but he has to do a lot of big things. You know,
not only that though, he's better prepared than any of those guys that you just mentioned to do what he's going to do.
To be that, because he had to step in. You know, first off, basically sat his first year at Montverde, and his second year, you know, wasn't. You know,
think about this, folks. As a junior, he was on the bench. Or sitting on the bench, not starting.
He was 6th or 7th guy. Like he got minutes. Like at Geico, he got like 29, 30 minutes, something like that over the course of 3 games, or like 37 or something like that over the course of 3 games. And so that's kind of where he was at. He was first guard off the bench, but he was playing behind, Langston Love and Ryan Nemhart, and 2 guys that are legit, D1 top 70 recruits. Those were the guard spots, and like the forward spots were all blue chip top 15 guys. And so, he had to learn to play with them. And then he comes on next year and it's his guard job, but he's still got, Tariq Whitehead on the team, and he's got Malik Reno, and he's got who's the Dylan Mitchell, like a whole bunch of guys that were going to score points. So he had to figure out, okay, like these are all the ways I can make an impact on both ends. So that's what he's going to be asked to do this year. You had to imagine Xavier Johnson still wins the point guard job, and one way or the other, they're not going to want to bench him because he's one of the top 5 guys. They're going to want to play both of those guys. But it's how does Hood Schifino play off of him? Go from playing off the ball when he's with Johnson to playing on the ball when Johnson's off the floor. Defend big dudes, big wings, but also point guards, be able to facilitate, but also go get his own, shoot the ball better, all things that he has to do, all developments he's got to make. And so it was delving into a lot of that stuff and how those things connect. So.
And Keegan, your latest piece on Riley Burgess at thehoosier.com.
Yeah, he went on a visit the week before the IBCA Top 100, so I was able to take a break at that camp. Had a good phone call with him. A really sharp kid. Really loves the game of basketball. Admittedly said that he needs to put on a little weight, which, I don't really think he does. I think he's a pretty good sized dude, but it's the kind of archetype that Woodson wants to go after is those tall shooters. I think he was in Boston watching TJ Power over the weekend. So that's definitely a name to keep an eye on. But, yeah, Riley Burgess, good interview with him. I would love to see him in an Indiana uniform. I just think it's going to be tough to get him out of the greater Cincinnati area.
Have you ever seen Matt Roth in an Indiana uniform?
No, I haven't, because I didn't start watching Indiana basketball until this year, and I didn't realize that I was playing golf with him until we were through 14 holes. So it's fine. I know you made fun of me about that on the show. So 14
holes in, Dustin. They
Wow.
were 14 holes in when he realized he was playing with Matt Roth.
It was after I hit a 210-yard 4-iron onto the green, got an eagle putt too. So
Make sure you get that in there. That's important.
yeah, that's
right.
That's right. I would own that too. Like if you're getting razzed on this, just remind everybody that there was
That's right. Hey,
there was an eagle in there someplace. Why would
I promise you. Dustin, what is up next for you at the Bloomington Herald, brother?
Great question. I think we're getting more player availability this week, or maybe it's coach availability this week. I think we're supposed to keep quiet who we're talking to next. I don't know.
I never know.
It's a mystery. I don't know. I can't remember what's supposed to be a mystery and what's not.
Yes.
But yeah, so we'll probably write. I mean, I don't know if it'll be me or be Zach, but one of us will write about whoever we got
Somebody.
next.
Writing about someone. We're writing about someone. We can't tell you about.
We can't tell you who it is until.
But just make sure you give him a follow and follow him at the Bloomington Herald Times and the Indy Star, but the Bloomington Herald Times.
Both of it,
yeah, give him a follow. And Keegan Nickoson at thehoosier.com as well. Brothers, I appreciate you guys so much. Hope you had a good time this weekend, and I hope you have a great week.
Yep. You too, Jim. Thanks.
See you later.
Thanks, both of you. We got lots more coming up. Jim Reamer's going to join us. Brought to you by our good friends at BB's Market. Back with more, all a part of the WOW Club. Make sure you sign up. Start earning WOW rewards today. Sent directly to your phone. Go to your Apple App Store or Google Play Store and sign up for the WOW Club. Eat, drink, and earn. Back with Jim Reamer right after this.
We'll be right
The sun
back
is
to the
out,
Golf
the
Club
birds
at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
The sun is out, the birds are chirping, and the fairways are in. What up? Look at you outside today.
Right.
Oh, outside viewing. It looks so nice. Oh my God. I should have done the show outside today just on principle.
I don't know how.
Just because it's going to be so nice.
Not a horrible view.
No, look at that.
Other than my cat damage to the screen porch, it's about.
Well, I can't see. I couldn't have noticed that. I just see. I'm looking at the tree, man.
Yeah, the tree's
beautiful.
great.
Look, it's beautiful. Little birds chirping. Chirp, 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 chirp.
Ugh. I don't know about my due today. I got nothing going on until about 1 o'clock today. So
Well, that's never a problem, is it?
Is the audio good?
Yeah, sounds great.
Okay, good.
Listen to those birds. It's great. Oh my God. I just wanted to go outside because it looks so nice out.
$30 seconds.
I had to step outside because it looked so nice out. I had to go see how wonderful it really was.
Yeah.
And it is exquisite.
And pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Good to you on this Monday from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. As always, Jim Reamer joins us from Courtside, Indiana. How are you, sir?
Relaxed, right?
Relaxed. It's got the birds chirping. Sounds like coming from
Sitting outside.
Augusta National.
Yeah, I don't know if the view's that nice. It's
well,
sometimes
the
it's
sounds.
better than- yeah, it's a good view.
I had to
The
walk
road-
outside. It's so nice out. I'm like, wow, it really is just incredible outside.
And just so you know, the road that I showed you wasn't here when I bought this. I've been here since 1999, so a lot has changed since I've purchased this place. So
Wyatt said he saw you in the main gym while the team he helps with, Lagodi, played against Riley.
probably. Well, you may have saw me. You may have saw me there, but I didn't stay for that game. I did see Lagodi play Oak Hill though. Watching Peyton Bledsoe.
Oak Hill
basically go
Academy?
against- No, Oak Hill near Marion. So basically, it was Landon Beagle versus Peyton Bledsoe. They are two very similar players. One's left-handed though, one's right-handed. Outside of that, they are extremely similar.
We've talked about Floyd Badunga and Xavier Booker and how well he played, but where is it? What is? I know that there's a situation with him allegedly tied to an assistant coach to a school. Is that what exactly is the truth to that?
The truth, I don't know what the truth is. The implication is that he's somehow tied to Drew Adams at Bradley, and that he's a part of the Mark Adams' A-Hope program. I don't know if that's true, if that matters. I know that Kokomo had the requisite international program to accept Badunga, and I don't know if there's any A-Hope ties or any I don't know if there's any leanings relative to that situation. I mean, he would be just as tied to Nevada as he would be Bradley, or just as tied to where Bill Delaney would be working as to where Drew Adams might be working. a lot of that stuff is message board fodder. I think it's
so this is just based BS for the most part then.
Well, I don't know.
I don't want to call it BS, but because we were talking before, I mean, as his services or the people seeking them, he's up on his trajectory is just shooting straight up. Rankings are going to be coming out higher and higher and higher and be getting much, much, much more attention and much, much more sought after.
Well, he plays for Adams, in the summer, but it's not like they've been steering their high major talent to Bradley. I mean, it still has to be a process where Bradley has to form a relationship, recruit him, and none of that is. I don't know. That's just message board fodder. I don't know if it's because, look, Flory came to this country without speaking a whole lot of English. I know he has been sheltered a little bit by Coach Peckinpah at Kokomo. And full disclosure, Coach John played for me at when he was in high school. He also played for Dane Fife at IPFW. So I know John wasn't happy when Dane got fired, but I don't know that that's going to carry over into some sort of recruiting issue. And a lot of that has been stitched together to try to create this issue that if it exists, I don't know that it exists. I doubt Peck holds that kind of a grudge. If Indiana staff comes in and forms a relationship with the kid and communicates well with the coach, then the dog guy I assume would be interested. But I don't know what his thoughts are, and I don't know. I honestly don't know how comfortable he is talking to a lot of strangers. To be honest, he's so fresh to this country, and so fresh to the English language that a lot of that has been, some of the early discussions had been stunted. Now, up until June, the only discussions he could have would have been initiated through a coach or through a proxy, and that's where someone like Adams would come in, or someone like a school coach would come in. Because they could call the coaches, they couldn't call the kids directly until June 15th.
It seems like, but there hasn't been any rumblings of other schools or much chasing him, involvement with him, to my knowledge.
Well, let's see if I can't get to my stuff here real quick. He has picked up some offers. I just need to find where they are.
Well, I'm sure he got offers. I'm just saying it just doesn't seem like he's getting the attention that someone that's playing as well as he is playing would normally be getting.
Right. Right now, his offers are Wake Forest and Creighton. And
2 offers. That's crazy.
That is. And a lot of it is, look, some of them do need to see him play. And I know they got a chance to. And sometimes, look, some schools have standards in terms of how they dole out their offers. They do. Some schools do require that a kid comes to campus. Some they do require that they meet with the staff, they meet with the players. It's not always just as easy as making a phone call and throwing out an offer. Now, that doesn't mean you just wouldn't have more offers or shouldn't have more offers, because there's a lot of schools that don't. But a lot of those staffs are pragmatic in how they handle things, and that would be one reason why maybe he doesn't have the assortment of offers that he has. And I would respect any program that had that type of process and was willing to stick with it.
Up at the Charlie Hughes this weekend, what stood out to you? What did you see that happened up there?
Well, the Badunga Booker battle was what everybody was looking forward to, and it kind of went like I thought it would. I mean, Badunga was dominant around the paint on both ends of the floor. His motor is relentless, and he did a lot better job of guarding out on the perimeter than what maybe we even expected. I know that this is what we've talked about in the past, is playing against coaching, playing against size, the things that look good in camps, the things that look good sometimes in summer situations don't always translate or transfer over to school ball situations. It's just because there's more emphasis put on, just team defense, for example, or maybe even a little bit of scouting, a little bit of adjustment making. And Badunga did a great job of not ever letting Booker get by him. There was never a time where Booker got to the paint without a body on him. There was never a time where Booker was able to get too deep in the half court where he wasn't forced to change directions, and he struggled with it. And a lot of the stuff is things that we've sort of talked about in the past. But he did show off a little bit of range, but it wasn't consistent. I think the guy that does some podcasting with us had him 6 for 19 from the field on the day, on the game. But there's some video going around where he's got some pretty spectacular plays, and he's capable of making those plays. But again, it's just a different situation when you play against coaching, and it's a different situation when you play against someone, when you're that big and you play against someone your size, it changes the game a little bit. And Badunga got free anytime he wanted to. And that was a big part of why Kokomo was able to stay with him. And a lot of teams haven't been this month. I mean, Penn was able to beat him. Penn was able to beat him, and Burton was able to have a good game, utilizing a lot of ball screens and, getting in the paint, making plays. And there's a lot that has to be explored when it comes to, looking at what translates to a higher level. And that's where I think Badunga shines, because I think the things that he does extremely well will translate, because a lot of it is effort and his persistence and his quickness. He's so quick with his feet and just a phenomenal athlete. And he was impressive. It was a great matchup. I definitely expected him to hold his own against, the older player, against Booker, who's a year older, but he dominated the matchup from pretty much the start.
And that's kind of amazing. What does that do to, obviously his recruitment is going to continue to go up, but when you outplay a guy who is being sought after by everybody, that's just going to, you would think, bring a ton of interest now.
It should. It should. And a lot of this stuff isn't controlled by just the players. It's a lot of the attention comes from media. The attention comes from people who put together rankings. The attention comes from, and the rankings come from the context of what class they're in. Booker being top 5 in the class of 2023. Romeo was 5th in his class. Trace Jackson Davis was 23rd in his class. And looking at the RSCI or the RCSI, which is the composite of the different rankings, kind of the average score of what they were ranked, and all the different places that provide those rankings. And I don't know that he would be as good as either one of those two guys coming out of high school. Maybe in the class of 2023 he is, compared to his classmates. But I think a lot of people are putting a lot of undue pressure, a lot of undue expectations on the top kids in this class, in the senior class. If they think that there's some of these dudes in the top 5 or 10 are as good as Romeo or even as good as Trace. And that's not just a Booker thing. That's each of them. Because I've seen a lot of those guys. And 2023 is not a great class in terms of the top tier talent.
Nope. We've got lots more coming up. Jim Reamer from Courtside, Indiana is with us right now. We've got more coming up, and we'll be back with, brought to you by our good friends at the Courtroom Sports Bar and Grill down in Bedford. Make sure you stop by and give them a visit. Part of the WOW Club. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting Bloomington or a Cutter.
Oh man, what's up next? Just the big events are up next, huh?
There's Saunders calling me. Hold on. Hang on a second.
Oh, the prep poop.
Hold on a second. Let me touch some text here.
You having a nice Schlitz?
Diet Pepsi.
Schlitz. I thought of something
No.
old school. Thought
Yeah.
of Strohs.
No day drinking here.
Yeah. I'm gonna be day drinking some chocolate milk in a minute. Chocolate milk and eggs and bacon and sausage, baby. Old school, straight up breakfast this morning.
Yeah,
Coming up next.
I cooked breakfast before the show, so
That's coming up next.
yeah. This weekend is the Pro Player Shootout, which is going to be teams like George Hill, Kyle Guy, which is the group I'm with, EG10. I'm sure Glenn Robinson's group's coming down from the region. I don't know if I'm sure there'll be some other out-of-state teams. And let's see. Hold on a second. Is that going up? So my Chrome browser keeps bumping out a picture. So that, and I think Battle of the Brands, are they doing that again this year?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, that's supposed to be coming up.
Okay, that would be this weekend as well.
Oh, it is?
So there's going to be two good events this weekend.
20 seconds.
HRVs and pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. It's Monday here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined by Jim Reamer from Quartzsite, Indiana, getting caught up on everything over the weekend. Coming up, Battle of the Bands is the bands. Battle of the Brands. Battle of the Bands. That's hilarious. Battle of the Brands is the next event on July 2nd, July 4th weekend in Indianapolis. That ought to be a cool event.
Yeah, that and also the Pro Player Shootout, which started last year between the teams that are sponsored by, well, pro players basically. George Hill, Kyle Guy, Glenn Robinson's group, EG10 with Eric Gordon's group. Those four programs and a couple of other programs that are local, and maybe even a couple of out-of-state programs that are affiliated with NBA guys will be playing this weekend down at Greenwood as well. So yeah, two good events. If you're in the Indianapolis area, you can come watch those events. And
what about the let's see, the daggone the brothers. There's the three brothers went to Wake Forest. One of them went to Wake Forest. Doggone it. Oh man. Were there three of them?
Who?
God, I'm drawing a blank on the last name. One played at Wake Forest. They have their own academy up there as well.
Up where?
Up in the Indianapolis area.
Oh. Teague.
Yes.
Teague.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I'm sure. I don't. You know what? I don't know what they have at the high school level this
Is
year.
that the factory? Is that the factory?
Yeah, I don't know. You said 3. There's 2 of them. Yeah, I don't
Oh,
know
just
what
2 of
they
them?
have. What they have at the high school level this year. They've got a decent younger team, and that's their thing. They have a really good youth league on the west
And
side.
where's the pro player shootout take place?
Going to be Greenwood High School.
That's at Greenwood. So if you want to go check that out, there's that. And then of course the Battle of the Brands. Where is that taking place?
I'm going to guess it's at Finch Creek in Noblesville, which is now somewhat called Mojo Up. Mojo Up Marketing is taking over some of the licensing and branding of Finch Creek. But it's still Finch Creek at Noblesville, which is where it's been the last 2 years.
Regardless, lots of basketball going on in the
Always.
state of Indiana year round, man, nonstop. And we're talking high-end elite basketball. The pro player shootout, that sounds like, now, is that their teams playing each other?
Yes. Yeah. There'll be 17, 16, and 15-year-old teams. And there's 5 courts down at Greenwood High School.
How's that different than the Battle of the Brands?
It's just different event. It's one's sponsored by one or teams with shoe company sponsorships, and the other one's teams with professional player sponsorships.
Oh, I gotcha. Yep. Battle of the Brands is the shoe companies.
I mean, EG10 is no longer with Adidas, and then Glenn Robinson just started their stuff this year. They merged with a program out of Northwest Indiana called Indiana Game.
Now, where are they? These guys that leave the umbrellas of the shoe companies who provided a bunch of the funding, where are they getting their funding now for these?
I think in large part the funding, if it didn't dry up, it definitely became greatly reduced during around COVID. So I know all of them, Nike, Adidas, and Under Armour, were all kind of pulling back their funding because they kind of realized that the draw is the events. But what has happened then is it has allowed independent events, tours such as NY2LA to pop up and be competitive, especially in the coaching space, which is what matters most in terms of the types of exposure you can get your kids. But obviously there are definitely some teams in the shoe world that are getting funding. They have the guys that are being targeted for the NBA, or being targeted for the G League Ignite, or teams that might be hunted down by Overtime Elite. But those are fewer and farther between. They're definitely a lot choosier than what they've been in the past. So a lot of these programs just get year-to-year contracts, so they're not guaranteed anything. Some of the more established programs certainly get multi-year deals, but for the most part, these guys are year to year. They might have multiple year commitment. You're about to hear the one negative of where I live, which is
lives by the fire department.
I'm real close to the fire station, police station. So,
well, at least they're not heading towards you.
No,
reminds me, I forgot to say this segment's brought to you by our good friends at Remax Realty. If you're in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area that's not burning, then you need Cheryl Sizemore and her 2 decades of experience. Reach out to her, Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. How about that?
Nice segue.
How about that?
Very well done. Very well done.
There you go. This ain't my first rodeo, baby.
There are definitely some teams too that have multiple year agreements with the shoe companies that don't involve funding. And a lot of that is just making sure they have access to the event. So, and then you get a situation like Under Armour where they've got a secondary tour, as does Adidas. And you can kind of buy your way into those, but there is some quality control, and that's a way to play your way into it as well. And so but the independent stuff has really improved the last 3 years, and we're seeing that this year with the types of coaches that have been that were at our games in April.
I wonder if we're ever going to see anything that's more combining of all of these leagues, whether it's the shoe companies along with these private entities, into more events.
At the national level, I doubt it. The state level, what was left of the old-fashioned AAU state tournament was obliterated by high school coaches getting access to their programs in the summer, because basically that used to be the month of June. I remember every June we would play one weekend. We would play in Anderson. We'd play in Anderson the first weekend in June. That would always be kind of a tune-up. We would already be about 3 or 4 events in. Like, we wouldn't start playing till May. Back when I first started doing this in 1991. And then we would play the weekend after Memorial Day. We would play in Anderson. Then we would take a week off, and then we would have 2 weeks of the state tournament. And the state tournament was always anywhere in the neighborhood of 60 to 70 teams. You would play your pool games the first weekend, and then the teams that advanced would come back the next weekend and play in bracket play. So it was always extremely competitive, and it was always, and if you finished in the top 3 or 4, you would qualify for the nationals down at 17 and under down in Orlando. And then you would go to Orlando and you would play in the Super Showcase and AAU Nationals, and that would be an 11-day trip. All 11 days were open to college coaches, and for the kids, it was sort of an experience, and for the parents, it was a great excuse to spend 11 days in Florida, so it was good. And usually what would happen is at 15 and 16, or at 15, we would go to Vegas. And then at 16 and 17, we would do the showcase and nationals. And then basically, as these invitationals and the shoe company stuff, each started to become more prominent, the AAU stuff started taking a back seat, especially in this state, where high school coaches being able to have their whole program in June basically wiped out the entire month for AAU.
Switching gears a little bit. I don't know how much you follow tennis, but I saw that the All English Club chairman, Ian Hewitt, they're banning Russian players this year, and the ATP has stripped them of their ranking points, which that's some big deals going on there. But I agree with what they're doing. So
yeah, I wonder to what end, though. I don't follow tennis that much, but I do follow the cross section of politics and sports. But
then at the same time, this Friday is the trial for Brittany Grineer, who's been held in Russia for 4 months now, more than 4 months after she was arrested at a Moscow airport for alleged cannabis possession. I mean, my Lord, this is crazy. But
yeah, and Brittany Grineer. The deal there, the weird deal there, is that people sort of employing the president, going to that level. I mean, it's ridiculous that she's being held there for that, especially for that long.
For that.
But at the same time, I don't know that it rises to the level of involving the president. Like, we don't.
Oh, if it was me or you, nobody's going to be going to the president to get you out.
Correct. Well, and nobody would. I mean, there's just, from a political standpoint, there's more pressing issues, especially now.
On Monday, the court in Moscow suburb of Kamiki extended her detention for another 6 months.
Jesus.
After she appeared at a preliminary hearing.
She's it's the worst political prisoner. I mean, that's what they're saying she is a political prisoner. I don't know.
Well, of course it is. It's ridiculous.
And it's terrible that she's being held, and she shouldn't be. But again, when you're in another country,
boy,
you need to live by their laws. I don't know how.
Well, not just another country, but when you're in a dictatorship state like that, yeah. But hey, it sucks. But I mean, hopefully she gets out of there. But that. Because Russia is big for women's basketball. That's where they make their money. They make $1 million over there. They make money that they cannot make anywhere else. That's why they go over there.
Well, it's big for women's basketball. It's big for the women's basketball players.
And the thing is, I guess the oligarchs and the one in particular who was backing this team, but they can't say much right now because they're having everything that they own taken around the world.
They've got bigger fish to fry than this.
So yeah, there you go. So you got that, all kinds of craziness going around the world. There's just all kinds of craziness that happens throughout the world. It's nuts. I mean, it was not that long ago. I remember she's watching her on the college courts, and now she's being held in a Russian prison. It's kind of like I was watching Stranger Things last night. And that's part of what's on there. Guy being held in a Russian prison.
Oh, really?
Yep, absolutely. It's you'd have to watch it to understand it. But what's coming up next for you? Where are you headed? Where are you going?
The pro player stuff. This is the last week of the high school leagues. There's games tonight at IPS at Tech High School. Going to watch their finals, their bracket play, or their final set of games tonight. The final set of games at Grand Park and Finch Creek are tomorrow night. Then we'll get ready for the pro player stuff this weekend. So again, if you're in Indy, there's two great places to watch basketball: Finch Creek for the Battle of the Brands, and then in Greenwood High School for the pro player. Then the week after that is the open period. So it's the first of the 2 July open periods. We'll practice. We'll practice this Friday. We'll practice next Tuesday. Then we'll go to Atlanta to play down there, the NY2LA stuff. I don't know where Louisville. I don't know where Louisville it looks like Adidas is in South Carolina this week. I don't know where Nike's going to be this week. But it starts basically back up Friday night for me.
And then in a couple of weeks, we got the big events going on: the Under Armour in Chicago, the Adidas Gauntlet in Atlanta, and the Peach Jam down in North Augusta. So yeah, getting close to the end of the road for AAU basketball this year.
It is. Then it's vacation time, which I don't know what that means yet. That just means no basketball. It means no basketball for about a week, and then I get back at it.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to that, whatever that means. But so much going on those times, though, at those big events, whether at the Under Armour finals, the Adidas Gauntlet, and the Peach Jam, all of those going on at the exact same time. And that's why do they do that? Why don't they stagger those things?
No, it's the NCAA. The NCAA is the driver on these dates. I mean, we only travel in July. We only travel period when it's to an open period, when it's during an evaluation period. We live in in Indianapolis, we live in an area where we have a lot of great events just locally. So there's no reason for us to travel, but you're talking about a smaller window, and you're able then to see that puts everybody at competitional odds. But back in the old days when it was open from like July 6th to July 30th or July 31st or whatever the dates were, it was a little bit more spread out. We would play in 5 events. Typically we would play 3 kind of back to back to back. Then we would take a little time off, and then we would play in 2, like I said, we would end in Orlando, but there would be, but that was also before the shoe companies were directly involved. They were more indirectly involved back then, but in terms of broad appeal, certainly Nike had an event in Vegas, Reebok had an event in Vegas, but now that there's just two periods that are open, everything's squeezed in basically what is 2 4-day windows.
Yeah, it's just a lot happening, and it just all comes down there at the end. But then they turn around. They don't have much time off. I mean, they're not going to stop the kids, and you get the month of August off. Then they start school, man.
Yeah, with the way that's set up, it is. Sometimes we had situations. We've had situations in the past where football has started while we've been in Orlando, and we've had an occasional kid that understands that they're not going to maybe play basketball in college, or that their football situation will be a little bit bigger, so they will have left Orlando early to go home because football practice was starting up. So like the actual football practice, not just the summer stuff. So that's we don't get that many conflicts right now. And this year we're done early. So we're done, I think, the 24th. So we're actually done with a full week of July. left to go. That's the open periods are very early in the calendar this year, and it kind of squeezes at the beginning. It's going to take away some practice time, but we'll be done much sooner in the month.
Well, that's always a good thing. Is it seems like it usually goes the opposite way. But it's had always a little rest is always a good thing. It seems like in this day and age that whether it's kids, coaches, or whomever, parents going 1,000 miles an hour in 1,000 directions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's busy. I mean, our guys have had a whole month away from us, but they've been with their school coaches the whole time. And a lot of these teams play a full season a full schedule or a full season's worth of games just in 1 month. So they don't get a whole lot of rest this time of year, but they're not in class either. So they get a little bit of extra free time in between that, but it's definitely, physically speaking, these guys have something pretty much every day this month. So.
Well, that's enough to keep them busy. I cannot thank you enough, man. As always, it's been a great way to start the Monday out. Appreciate you. Big thanks as well to Keegan Nickoson, of course, and Dustin Dopirak joining me earlier from the Bloomington Herald Times, and, of course, Keegan from the Hoosier.com. Make sure you give them both a follow, as well as Jim Reamer. Thanks to Joe, the producer, filling in for John, the producer, today. So things went well as always with him on board, and a big thanks to you guys as always. Without you, there's no reason for us to be here. Appreciate you guys so much. We're back tomorrow again to do it again with Kevin Brockway, Mike DeCourcy, and Chronic Hoosier. So look forward to them. Make sure you visit and support all of our sponsors. Look forward to that. And until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.